Hello, Vibers, and welcome to the Vibe with Kai podcast. It's your boy Kai, and I'm so excited to be sitting here with Nelson Holland, also known as Fat Black and Getting It on Instagram and on TikTok. Nelson is a Colorado hiker who is defying physics for the most beautiful views. His content features incredible hiking journeys, amazing views, sunrises, sunsets, mountain peaks, and wildlife. Now, be sure to follow me and subscribe on the Vibe with Kai Patreon, where you'll get some bonus interview of me and Nelson talking a little bit more about nature and mental health and all of that. But before we get to that, my friends, I want to welcome Nelson to the Vibe with Kai podcast. Nelson, what's going on, man? It's nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. Thanks for having me, Kai.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate you being here. I want to jump right into this, dude, because I think it's fascinating what you do. Your social channels fascinate me because you are constantly hiking and you're out in nature going on these incredible outdoor adventures. And on top of that, you mentioned that you haven't been doing this like your whole life. You started, fairly recently. Talk to me about what it's like to be a hiker nowadays and how you got into it in the first place.
So yeah, basically I credit Colorado to most of my journey. I'm from New York originally. I moved here about 8 years ago, and kind of the way I tell the story is I think we all love the wildlife as kids. Like we're kind of innately, we just love lions and tigers and bears. And yeah, somewhere being a New Yorker, like somewhere around the preteen years, I just lost that. Um, a lot of black and brown families over there. It's not really in our culture to go upstate like that. So I really just like didn't recognize the nature around me. But Colorado, you kind of can't do that. So I get off the plane and you see the Rocky Mountains, and
Yeah.
it's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. Um, there's a bison refuge not too far from where I used to work out here, like about 15 minutes away. And I saw the bison on a lunch break one day. I was like, "Is that bison out there?" And all my friends casually just like, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure." I was like, "You guys have bison roaming out here. I've never seen anything like that before." So that was big. I started just going there to check my emails and stuff like that. And then one day, one of my friends told me about Estes Park over here. So that's the gateway to Rocky Mountain National Park, and there's elk just walking around over there. And yeah, just kind of the wildlife experiences. And I'd been driving around when I first got around here, but I wanted to get out the car and explore more. And yeah, now I'm where I'm at today, and it feels amazing. There's like
Yeah.
nothing I'd rather do than hang out outside.
It's really cool. I actually had the privilege of spending time in Colorado in 2020, like during the height of the pandemic. And I was out in Colorado. I can't tell you what mountain or what trail it was, but the person that I was with took me hiking up this mountain. I was not mentally or physically prepared for this at all. And I remember distinctly, we had been walking for like, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes. And I was like, man, this mountain, man, it's blah blah. And she's like, we haven't even gotten to the mountain part yet. I'm like, are you kidding me? She's like, we still gotta go all the way up there. Oh my God. But let me tell you, and this is something that this is why I'm so always so happy when your stuff pops up on my FYP, because it reminded me when I did take that hike, by the time I got to the top, I just felt so like happy. I was so proud. I felt like I legit did something really, really cool, which I did. And mental health wise, I mean, that just my brain, it just took me to another level. And I love that. Do you find that the same thing happens for you when you are on these hikes, when you're connected with nature? Do you kind of get this, I guess, euphoric feeling of accomplishment?
200%. That's basically what kept me going out there. I mean, the wildlife for sure, like I said, but I like to say that nature has kind of become my therapist, and she's your cheapest therapist. I can really like go out there and work on myself and work on any problem. I just I heard the term, I forget what the term's called, but there's a term for the way nature takes your attention, but like lightly. It
Mhm,
does something for your brain restorative that just like nothing else does. Like
mhm.
yeah, just like looking at the birds calls your attention, but not in the same way as math or that
Right.
work problem or something like that. And yeah, it just really helps you restore. And I it's got to the point where I would call myself addicted now. it's just about the happiest addiction that you can have or the cleanest addiction you can have.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I'm not in nature for over 3 days, I definitely feel myself kind of getting cranky and
Mhm.
anxious to get back out there. And as soon as I get back out there, it's like, oh, okay, this is what I was missing.
Right, right. How often do you try to go out like once or twice a day? Is that what you try to do?
Twice a day is a little much for me, although I do
Yeah.
have some days for that when it's like a lighter kind of just like, 1 block walk to a sunset, something like that, not a hike.
Mhm.
But I would say I get out like a minimum of 3 times a week.
Mm.
I try to do at least 5. You want to give yourself a couple days or a day or two a week to rest. But yeah,
Right.
I try to get out there at least 3 times a week.
Right. And you had mentioned this earlier. You were talking about being black and being a person of color out there. And I remember my little experience out, in, in nature hiking in Colorado. I was the only one. There was a lot of people out there, hiking and going through the trail, which was really cool. But like honestly, from all of the people that I saw, I was the only person of color out there, like by far. Do you find that that is a common occurrence, not just I guess in Colorado specifically, but in hiking in general? Do you feel that a lot of people of color are not, I guess, introduced to how great this thing can be?
Definitely, it's sad, but that's just kind of a byproduct of us historically not being allowed into those spaces. I feel like our white counterparts, they have grandparents that grew up hunting and they know these
Hmm.
areas and they know people in these areas and they have a cabin in these areas, and that's just not the reality for a lot of us. I find it really sad out here just because like I know how much you can do out here, and where I live now in Aurora, there's a lot of people that are afraid of deer and that just never seen any of the stuff that I have, and it's only an hour away from them. And it was kind of like that in New York too. I definitely remember I went to a Catholic school. A lot of people don't know that, and the school was rather affluent. And I definitely like I remember, my black friends like us not really knowing anything other than the local park where everybody played basketball and had the cookouts. But my white friends, they would go to places like Colorado and go
Hmm.
skiing, and they would go upstate New York, and they knew about all those things. So yeah, I think access is just a big part of it, but it's definitely something that it seems to be a national problem.
Right. And you also talk a lot about your connection with the wildlife that is out there. And you just talked about it just now too. Um, is it ever scary? Is it ever scary? Like, have you ever had a moment where you're like, oh boy, I don't know if I should be here with this right now?
Yeah, nothing as bad as these bear videos that I'm seeing lately on TikTok. Like those are
Yeah.
crazy.
Uh,
I've never had a bear just like follow me on trail yet. So
mhm.
when I have one of those experiences, or the mountain lion experience, I'll have to get back to you. But yeah, I mean, I think it's scary just because wildlife is always wildlife. But I
Right,
really honestly look at them like very much like I do with humans. So like I don't know what the person that I see walking in the grocery store is going to do either.
right,
And
right.
I tend to think that animals are actually like a lot more docile than that when you
Mhm.
don't encroach on their space or bother them. I'm never running up to a bison trying to take a selfie or anything like that. Or a moose. I've gotten fairly close to sheep before, but a lot of people don't know that you're like allowed to get within 25 feet of them. So like if the park rangers allow me to do that, it makes me feel like
Right.
it's going to be safe. They move really quick though.
Mhm.
So interestingly enough, I'm like way more afraid of the quicker agile animals
Right.
than the bigger ones. That's maybe just a me thing, but yeah, I've never really been scared of a moose before, but I've
Right.
definitely been scared of these sheep and these goats, especially the mountain goats when you're up on 14,000 feet up on a cliff, and these mountain goats are kind of like chasing you a little bit.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
it
I
does get a
can't I
little
can't
scary.
even I can't even imagine. Oh my gosh. I get
It's
like
exhilarating though. Like,
I'm sure, yeah.
yeah.
That's amazing. And one of the other things that you talk about, and your username alludes to this as well. Your username is fat, black, and getting it. And you talk a lot about being a plus sized hiker as well. Tell me a little bit about that approach and some of the like feedback that you've got from that, because I'm sure that there have been people reaching out to you being like, this is really cool. I'm glad that you are showing that this can be done. Tell me a little bit about your experience there.
So it was really funny when I chose the name. I just kind of like, I think I had a different name on Instagram originally, and when I went to TikTok, I was just like, oh, everybody does catchy names in TikTok.
Yeah.
What can I do? So I just chose that randomly, and at that point, I mean, influencer and things like that were so far away from any thought that I had. Um, so I originally got some pushback on the name, like
Okay.
everybody would be like, why do you call yourself fat, and why do you call yourself black? I'm like, because I'm over 300 pounds and I'm African American. I don't mind being called black.
Right.
Um, Later, when I started getting the plus size people showing up and being like, I didn't know that I could do this trail, or I didn't know I could do hiking in general, it kind of changed the whole mission of what I was doing and made me definitely want to use my platform for more like inclusivity. And yeah, I one of the highlights I would say when you're talking about plus size is I got to do an Eddie Bauer photo shoot with
Oh, cool.
Jenny Brusso and Unlikely Hikers, which is an amazing organization of mostly plus size LGBTQ women. You should definitely check them out. But so she had me go over there for a photo shoot, but we were also doing some rock climbing. It was my first time rock climbing. Sabrina Wilson was there. It was her first time rock climbing. Jenny had done it a few times before, and Sam Ortiz is like a monster plus size rock climber. You should check
Mm.
her out. She's really good at that. But so yeah, I made a pretty cool video. I also got called the N word while I was there, and
Oh
it was
my
my
gosh.
first time in Oregon. Yeah, so it's a crazy video, but it just me getting called that and then relying on these women the next day to pick me up, these plus size women, while also conquering our fears of rock climbing
Oof.
was like an amazing video. And yeah, the feedback from most plus size people were like, I literally didn't know I could do this. Thanks for showing me we could do this.
Right.
And I mean, that type of stuff makes my day. I'm getting chills right now thinking about it.
Right, right. It's really I love that you get the opportunity to introduce this type of activity to people that may not even think that it's a possibility for them. And I see in some of your videos, you'll say, this park is only, 30 minutes from you. It's only, it's less than an hour from you and all of that. Talk to me about what it's like to introduce people, when they get a chance to go out into nature and to go on these hikes and just experience the things that you experience for the first time. What's that like for you when you get to see them experience that?
It's amazing. I don't have any kids, but like I imagine it's kind of like the feeling parents get when their
Hmm.
kids are growing. Um, yeah, online when I can do it, like through my social channels, and I introduce a spot to people that they'll later tag me in when they go do it and show me them seeing the same views or a different view from a similar area, something like that. It warms my heart, but in person I've been able to just meet a lot more youth through this social platform. Really, people are reaching out to me, and I did a 14er with a group of black and brown students from the local inner city high school, and they had never been like anywhere near this. Like most of them had never seen anything like this, and the way that they took to it was just amazing. Like not only did they enjoy the challenge and the physical aspects of it, but they felt the mental aspects of it as it was
Hmm.
happening, and it was just amazing to see that through a student's eyes. All of them kind of loved it and see themselves doing more hiking in the future. And yeah, I there's like nothing better than that, especially when it's youth. I mean, I like doing it with anybody our color, and really just anybody. Like most of my followers are actually white women, and I love
Hmm.
hiking with them too.
Yeah.
But yeah, when it's youth specifically and colored youth, it feels like what else is there that anybody should be doing, right?
Right.
I feel like I'm seeing the next generation of conservation lovers like unfold before my eye, and yeah, it feels so amazing.
Yeah. You alluded to this as well about having followers and that follow you, that support you. Did you ever think that you would ever have over 100,000 people that are like, I want to see what he's doing today? I
Nah,
want to see the hikes that he's doing. I want to see what he's doing in nature. I want to see him whitewater rafting and all of that. Have you ever thought that this would be something that was ever presented to you?
Literally never. I mean, I knew that people got on social media to promote businesses.
Mhm.
So kind of the reason I got on TikTok was really, once again, it's coming from the nature lover standpoint. So that bison spot that I was talking about, I used to go almost every day, and I got really used to their pattern to where like I could park half an hour before they got there to like right where they walk past to get to their watering hole, and I would see 200 bison 20 feet in front of my car with calves and stuff. I just wanted to show that to people in the world. So my family back home would see that stuff and be like, "You got to get it on Instagram, right?" So I
Mhm.
started putting stuff on Instagram, but I could never get the views on there just for like wildlife stuff.
Right.
So when I went to TikTok, it was definitely like a little different. I knew that I could do more there, but I never expected like a following. I was just like, okay, maybe like I can get 1,000 views finally on this up close shot of bison, and maybe I can sell some pictures one day, right?
Yeah, yeah,
There's no way like I don't not until like probably a couple months ago was I finally just like, oh, okay, this is what we're doing now.
yeah.
Like I still can't believe it.
Yeah, I think you'd be surprised how much reach you have because because the reason that we're even talking in the first place is because I always say to the people that follow me, are there any influencers or content creators out there that you want me to talk to and have on my podcast? And your name came up multiple times. Multiple times. And so I was like, okay, let me go check him out. And I was like, oh, I have to have him on. I have to I have to sit and chat with him. So I don't even know if you realize how much of a reach that you have. And people are truly inspired by the work that you do. That has to be like just a really, I guess, humbling and exciting notion.
Yeah, I definitely humbling. And like I said, I really can't believe it. Other people are always saying that, right? Like,
Yeah.
I just did like I was it was supposed to be a hike, but it got kind of rained down, and I hung out with a bunch of like student interns for the local park out here. One of them got to hold on to an eagle yesterday while
Oh
it was being
wow.
tagged. So yeah, they're doing really important work out there, and yeah, it was just chill, and I feel like I'm just a guy that loves nature,
Right.
hanging out, right? Like I don't feel like I have this intrinsic value that people give me, but yeah, when I see them and we're out and like, when I'm hiking with a group and somebody on the hike like says, "Oh, I follow you on TikTok and stuff,"
Mhm.
it definitely feels humbling, but I totally don't realize my reach because I just look at myself as a guy that loves nature, and I
Yeah.
finally figured out how to show it to everybody.
Right, right. I would be remiss if I didn't also take the opportunity to talk about how dangerous it can be if you're not prepared, if you are not, properly equipped and all of that. If somebody is interested in I guess beginning hiking or exploring nature in this regard, what tips would you give them in regards to just staying safe?
So there's a few, but I would say my number one is if you're a beginner, start with a beginner's hike, right? Like there's a lot of people that come out here and they want to do some of our hardest, most beautiful hikes. And it's like, yeah, I mean, some people are in shape for that and some people do it successfully, but I wouldn't recommend it. The once again, that bison spot I was talking about, that's kind of how I got started. There's some lakes around there, right? And you're still going to be at 5,300 feet approximately. So if you're from sea level, it's definitely a different type of workout, but there are no elevation gains, just like 1 or 2 miles around the lake. So I would start with that, right? If you don't have your poles for that, it's no big deal. If you just have regular sneakers and no hiking boots, it's no big deal. If you forget your coat and it thunderstorms out there, it's no big deal. You can just head back to your car in 15 minutes as opposed to being on top of a 14er having to deal with some of those things and have no idea what you're doing. So I always say, start with beginners hikes, and a great way to look those up would be All Trails is a great app that people need to know
Mhm.
about. If you're in Colorado, we have our own state-specific app, CoTrex, and people always ask, my biggest resource is probably Google. You can
Mhm.
type into Google, best beginners hikes near Denver, and they'll give you about as many resources as I will quicker, right?
Hmm.
And they always answer. But yeah, other things would be, know the weather,
Hmm.
for plus size people and really anybody in general. If once you get into it, poles are nice. I definitely know some of the most avid hikers that are doing, 14ers every day and only weigh 150 pounds soaking weight. Like they still
Hmm.
soaking wet. They still use poles now because they found it takes stress off their knees. Um, like I said, weather is big. You got to know the weather, especially in a place like Colorado.
Right.
Today is a perfect example. It's perfectly sunny right now, but it's supposed to thunderstorm in an hour or two. So you can get caught out there, and I have before.
Hmm.
Um,
Is that
Plenty of
scary?
water and snacks.
Is it scary when you
Oh,
get caught out there?
definitely. I've never got caught in a really bad thunderstorm. That's like what I'm most scared about because
Hmm.
I've seen videos of people that get caught in that, and yeah, if you're above tree line, it's just rough. But I have got caught in a hailstorm at about 13,000 feet,
Oh my
and
gosh.
I was just lucky that there were wind shelters there.
Hmm.
For people that aren't familiar, literally just random people, like not even a trail crew sometimes, will build these wind shelters out of like kind of the stone that sits on top of a mountain that will break the wind because there's often 60-mile-per-hour winds up there.
Hmm.
So yeah, I was just lucky that there was one of those to kind of to wait it out. I could see the hailstorm coming over the next mountain ridge, and it looked to
Hmm.
me, I was like, oh, that's got to be 50 to 70 miles away, so I probably have
Hmm.
an hour. Well, we must have got like 100-mile-per-hour wind gusts, and that thing was
Wow.
on me in like 20, 30 minutes.
Wow. That is scary because it's funny you say that because that's like a very adventurous type of fear when it comes to weather. Meanwhile, last night I went to the store and I was sitting in my car for 20 minutes. Now, mind you, from the car to the front door, maybe like 20 feet, but it was pouring down rain, and I did not want to get out of my car. So like it is the like I hear your adventures, and meanwhile I'm like I'm gonna stay in my Ford Fusion for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, all types of weather is rough,
Yeah.
like nobody wants to get rained on. I will say though, I a couple weeks back I got caught in a monsoon,
Oh
and I'm
gosh.
actually really good. These things don't happen to me, but that one was crazy. I did a hike where we took the ski lift up, and they warn you like if there's inclement weather, we're gonna close the ski lift. But it was a beautiful day, so we're like, nah, and there are plenty of kids up there, like young
Hmm.
kids, like 5 to 10 or whatever. So we're like, they're not going to close the ski lift. They
Hmm.
got a couple of thunderstorms within a 50-mile radius, it seemed like, because we couldn't see them. And they closed the lift. So I ended up having to hike down, and the rain started coming, and I'm hiking down in a monsoon. Anyway, yeah,
Oh.
after you do something like that, the 20 feet between your car and the door doesn't
Yeah.
seem like as much, but it's still not fun.
Right, right, exactly. No, I hear you there. Are there any trails or mountains that are on your bucket list that you haven't hit that you want to go to?
Oh, tons, tons. So after seeing 14 Peaks on Netflix, I definitely would love to do some of the highest ones in the world,
Hmm.
right? So Kilimanjaro's up there because
Hmm.
that's actually a walk up. Like you don't have to have any
Hmm.
technical skills for that.
Right.
But then Everest would be on there too, and
Hmm.
some of the less popular ones. I've only done one or two Colorado 14ers, 14,000-foot mountains. So
Hmm.
eventually I would like to do all of them, just really just to train. It's like a
Hmm.
Colorado rite of passage, but I really want to do it just to like get used to hiking at elevation so I can do things like Mount Everest.
Right.
Um, but I mean, there are tons, like I can name some more. There's this place, Blue Lakes in Colorado, with these pristine turquoise blue lakes.
Yeah.
I really want to go to that one. There's like I still haven't been to the sand dunes down here. You
Hmm.
can hike to the like high point of the sand dunes, and it's like one of the most unique ecosystems in the world because there's
Right.
not too many places where there's sand dunes and mountains like that, and we actually have the tallest sand dunes in North America are out here. You can sled on them too, and there's a creek that goes through on some weird Colorado nonsense. There's just like a creek that goes through
Yeah.
the desert in the summer, in the middle of the summer. So yeah, I mean there are tons, tons. I'm in this space now where I don't really want to do anything else
Hmm.
other than be outside.
Hmm.
And like yeah, you can add exploring to that. Like I just want to see different views and discover different areas.
Right. I hope you know that when the next time I'm out in Colorado, I'm hitting you up and we're gonna go hiking. I'm gonna have you take me somewhere. I hope you know that.
Yeah, please. It's what I do. I
Yeah.
love to hike with new people, and I
Yeah.
know some great spots.
Yeah, just take it easy on me. All right. Just take it just take it easy on me. I'm just a Philly boy. That's all I am. I don't have mountains where I am.
It's all good. Like I said, coming from New York, I could feel you,
Yeah.
but I got my sister, my cousin from
Hmm.
Maryland has come out. My brother from Long Island and my dad grew up in the Bronx. They all
Hmm.
came out. We got up on a couple of mountains
Yeah.
and did our thing. So I think you could do a couple of
All
those.
right, that's fine. I'll walk around my neighborhood a couple times just to make sure I build out my stamina. Well, Nelson, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate you sitting down and chatting with me today. My friends, if you enjoyed everything that this wonderful person had to say today, I put all of his links down in the description of this podcast, and I encourage you to go follow him. Go watch his stuff. If anything, even if you're not a hiker, just to see some of the wonderful views and wildlife that he experiences. And on top of that, when he does bring people along with him, getting to experience things through their eyes as well. So please, I really encourage you to go follow him and be sure to subscribe to the Vibe with Kai Patreon, where you're going to get some additional bonus interview footage of me and Nelson speaking a little bit more about nature and mental health. Nelson, thank you again, my friend, for sitting and chatting with me today. Be sure to follow me on all your favorite social media platforms. And until next time, good vibes, my friends. I'll see you later. Bye.